to the Elite Racing League podcast. Taking the last couple weeks off just because of schedules, but we felt it was a good time to do this. Basically, it's just going to be a preview of our upcoming truck season. Lots of momentum building up. So it's just me here and then Levi Zielinski, a.k.a. Rowdy. And we're going to just kind of preview the truck season, talk about it a little bit, look at the schedule, look at some things that might have changed compared to the last truck season, and just go from there.
Yeah, so we are starting with the truck season. This is the second season that we have done on iRacing now. So this season is going to be a little bit different. We are doing $5 pay-in. All goes towards broadcasting. So pretty cool there. All races will be broadcasted. So a little bit different than last year where we had a few races broadcasted, but not many. We also have Vic and Justin taking the booth for that, which will be really interesting because they've ran with us before. So I think it's going to be a really great mix. So they know how we race, they know the drivers, so they can kind of give personal backgrounds on everyone, which will be really cool to see, I think, coming this season. Anything to add, Chad, really?
Yeah, so first thing, I think the biggest thing with this upcoming season is the goal that me and Josh Personet had was we wanted to make the truck season more legit. Something where people feel like it's bigger than just a regular league. And I think the main thing to achieve that is having a broadcast. We haven't had the best of luck with our broadcast partners over the last couple of seasons, whether it was the trucks or the street stocks or K&N or whatever it was. But Justin Krasneski, our reigning champ, and then Vic Bloom, a guy who's raced with us since the beginning on our iRacing stuff. They decided to kind of work together and kind of go into the broadcasting side, and they put together a package for us. It's very, very affordable. So they're going to do that for us. Obviously, with that, the drivers are going to have to pay a little bit. $5 for 18 races, which really is probably the cheapest you're going to find a league that gets broadcasted. And obviously, if we have enough guys sign up, the rest that'll go into like a pot for champion or whatever. We could discuss that, but so that was the first thing. The second thing was being able to put the series in this position where we're attracting top drivers. I felt at the end of that truck season, a lot of the lower level guys that we might have had before that were kind of causing issues really kind of got the idea that, like, hey, probably not going to be welcome here if this is how we're going to drive. So a lot of guys stopped showing up. And we really started to get some serious talent last season. And then going into this season, the talent increased again, where we're going to have a lot of serious drivers up front. And then just little things, like having our banner on the truck. Anything that can make the league, more legitimate, I think it helps. Now going into this season, the championship, it's completely different. Everything's different from the inside out. Where we basically have just done, like a chase playoff format. Well, we're scrapping that. We scrapped that. That was something the drivers voted. And that's the other thing we really want is the drivers have a say in our league. So the schedule was picked by the drivers. The championship procedure was picked by the drivers. So basically, it's an 18-race season. No playoffs, chase, stages. It's going to be basically a throwback to the Craftsman Truck Series of old. So it'll be an 18-race, straight points. The drivers will have their bottom two races dropped from the points total. And then, like, if you miss a race, that'll count as one of your drops. and so on and so forth. Um, so the biggest thing, like I said, going into the season like this, it's just making it more legitimate. And I think we've done that. Um, that being said, the championship format is going to be something that's going to be big. I think it's going to force guys to really have to show up, um, especially because you can't afford to say, all right, well, I'm going to just skip a couple races here and wait for the playoffs. So you can't really do that if you want to be a champion. You're going to have to try to be there as much as possible. Um, and I think that's it. Also is going to change how the races play out. Now, when we talk about that, in the typical stage format, Levi, you experienced it. Um, we were one of the very few leagues, from what I seemed like, where we had a caution actually thrown for a stage,
Yeah.
and I thought that the intensity was like crazy. I thought it was like because everybody needed the stage points. It made the race so much more important the first half. Um, and it's not always a good thing. I mean, you had a really aggressive stuff going on right as soon as the green flag flew. I think this could help keep a flow going through the race. Um, you know, what do you think is going to change as far as the race is concerned? So again, there's no stage points anymore. It's going to be a straight, or it's going to be the full race without stage points, no stage cautions. And then to add to that, the races are just a little bit longer than we had last season. So when we look at that, how do you think that changes the race itself?
Yeah, for me, I'm not a fan of the caution after the stage. Never been. I race in three wide. We don't do the caution after the halfway points, which I think is really great because I think sometimes it causes people to drive too aggressive on the tires because they know there's going to be that caution that comes out, so they can pretty much go balls out for the first part of the race and the second part of the race. Where if you don't have that caution, you don't know when the next caution is going to come out, so it's going to make you save your stuff a little bit more than you normally would. So on that end, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a conservative race aspect on that end because people aren't going to be abusing their tires as much, I don't think. So it's going to be more of a who's going to have the longer run and who's going to be better on the long run as the races go on, I think, especially with the tracks that we have on here. There could be quite a few races that could possibly go caution free, which is going to be interesting to see because we didn't have that last year. We don't know who has the best stuff on the long run. I know I've ran iRacing for about 4 years now, and I know I've built myself up on being a person that can usually save the tires while still being fast. So that's one of the things I'm really strong at. So I think this plays more towards my wheelhouse, and also a couple of the drivers that I've brought on board this year, like Rusty Capel, we've seen in the expedition race that once the long run came on, he kind of just went with it and got all the way from like I think he started like 15th that last race, started all the way to fourth place. So I mean, you're gonna see people like that. It's gonna be a real game changer, I think, this year with the no caution rule.
Yeah, I think that's going to be another thing too. Like I said, I think that's going to change the philosophy of how you approach the race. Um, I think it's going to be, seeing what the truck does over the race. The track's going to change a lot. Um, I think that's something that I felt I've gotten a lot better at. You know, I've really tried to do as many official races as possible over the last month or so because really trying. Sorry. I'm really trying to just get the truck down and get used to the truck and get used to iRacing at that level. Um, and I think, you know, towards the end of the season, I was able to put myself in position with the truck. I like at Homestead, for example, I started the race the night off not having a clue how to get around there. And then by the end of it, I felt like I might have been the fastest truck on the track, but I think that that'll help me a little bit. Um, Now, when we look at the schedule, um, we have. You're right there, Levi.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know why my mic's going out. You there?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So, 18 race schedule. Um, I think the most important thing with the way the format is for the championship is you kind of have to be versatile at every type of track. I think that's the most important thing. Um, we got plate tracks, we got short tracks, we got 2 mile tracks, we got road courses, we got dirt track. Um, I think the only track you could really write off as like just get to the end would be maybe Eldora, just because it's a one track, so you could probably get away with not knowing how to run on the dirt. But I was thinking about it today. 18 race season, you got 2 plate tracks. Well, you can't really just go into both plate tracks thinking like, all right, I'm just going to try to like finish and not wreck. Well, you can't really do that, because if you just ride in the back and not really get good finishes at those plate tracks, it's going to hurt your championship hopes for sure. Um, I think the goal would probably be so we start the season off at Daytona, and then later in the season we go to Talladega. I would think that the best approach would probably be to just make sure you get really max points in one of those 2 races. I think if you go into Dega and you go into Talladega or Daytona and Dega, and you're DNFing in both races, that's really going to hurt your championship hopes. So when we look at the first part of the season, we go to Daytona, and then we go to Kansas. Kansas provides pretty good racing. I thought we had a good race there last season. And then Iowa. So Iowa's race 3. Again, everybody kind of knows Iowa. Iowa's usually a pretty competitive race because everybody kind of enjoys the track. And then race 4 is a track I'm really shooting for, Pocono Raceway. Last season I qualified on the pole. Thought I had a chance to win the race, and then I had internet issues. That was before I got my new PC. And then there's a track that shows up for the first time, Lucas Oil Raceway, IRP. That was one of the tracks you were happy about, and I know a lot of guys were happy to have that on the schedule. I've only done an Xfinity fixed race there in the official lobbies, and it's a really good race, but it's going to be hard for guys to keep the fenders on the truck because it's just a one-lane track. So what do you expect out of Lucas Oil Raceway? Because like I said, that's going to be and that's going to be under the lights. So I mean, what do you expect out of that track?
It's kind of traditional. It's kind of like a mixture of, I guess you'd call Darlington and I guess Bristol. I mean, it's a high side short track racing. I mean, you're gonna definitely have a stripe by the end of it on the right side. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the best in the world will do it. It's guaranteed. It's a very good race. It's gonna be very interesting. It's a very hard track to pass. So starting up front and track position will be key there. For basically the whole race. I don't know. For you, I don't necessarily. I'm just gonna go back to the Daytona Talladega subject real quick. I don't. For me, I'm worried more about the DNF and the big wreck than I am about. I would rather race in the back and avoid the big wreck, and then just take what I can, a good points day, versus trying to go out and get a win. Just with that being said, is just because that could be your one DNF or your one, drop week, and it's a Daytona. I mean, that could be an easy points day too. So I'm thinking in the opposite of having a good points day over trying to win it. So it's kind of
Yeah,
interesting to see. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a lot of
yeah,
strategies
that's
played out.
that's interesting because I've done both now, where I've rode around the back and still got involved in wrecks. So it's like
At,
it's either you get in front of it or you get behind it. I
yeah,
don't know. It's one of those deals. Um,
it's kind of interesting. So a little short story of my first 2015 B first season full time with 3 Wide Racing. We ran Daytona B car. It was really interesting. The strategy for the team was we were gonna stay in the back, and ride it out. And we realized after about first pit stop that this is gonna go caution free. We made it basically we're the last people on the lead lap. 2 of my drivers messed up on pit road. My other driver stayed with me. We ended up somehow making it all the way back up to the front by pushing each other all the way to the front. Within, I think we got to 60. We ended up getting to the front, and I ended up winning the race by a last lap pass. But it's just one of those things that you kind of can feel out where Daytona's going to go in the matter of about 20, 25 laps, if it's going to go caution free or if there's going to be a big one. So it's kind of gonna be interesting to see if guys can pick up on how that race is gonna go and what's gonna happen. Because trucks, you can push a lot more than you can. Trucks at plate races are a lot more competitive, a lot more of a big group, and a lot better. I call it better draft package. You can do a lot with a truck at a restrictor plate race, which is really cool because you can get 3 lanes going, which is really awesome to see and really good if you have a lot of good drivers.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at the plate races we had, Daytona was kind of a crazy race, um, where it was kind of a no holds barred kind of race. Everybody wanted to go and get Daytona, and then Talladega was a fairly clean race for us last season. And then the last lap, all hell broke loose. We literally had 10 trucks sideways crossing the start finish line, and Kyle Zimmer picked up his first win.
Yeah, it happens in every league. I've
Yeah,
raced,
so I mean,
I've won 3 of them and literally
it's
two
gonna
of them.
be it's gonna be crazy, no doubt. But I mean, I think it's gonna be different because you don't really have to go out and win that race. Now you kind of just points race.
Yeah.
Um, so race 5 race 4 is Pocono, race 5 Lucas Oil Raceway, race 6 a track that's going to be kind of a wild card is Canadian Tire. Now the official series goes there I think this week, so I'm going to try to get as many laps and
I'm not a
learn that
motorsport
track.
fan.
Um, I it's funny because I come from Project Cars where it's just all road racing, and I've raced with the best on there. I feel very good with it, but most of the cars I drive are Indy cars or Opel cars. Um, things with huge aerodynamics. Um, all the help that you really need. Where you get into even a truck where you don't have tons of power, but you're still sliding around trying not to wheel hop the truck and
It's a dump truck.
that yeah. So I really did a lot of laps at Glen. I did laps in Mid Ohio with the Infiniti car. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really starting to feel confident on the road courses with the big heavy cars and trucks. But like you said, I haven't turned a lap there. But if it's anything like it looks on TV, it's going to be a lot to deal with the elevation. Always adds a curveball in as far as braking and accelerating. Like I said, Mid Ohio was awesome. It was up, down, all over the place. You really had to watch your on throttle time. So that should be a fun race. I'm looking forward to that. And we do have some road racers, so I think that'll be a cool place to see what everybody's got. Then we go to Phoenix, typical Phoenix race. You'll probably get strung out. And then this is probably going to be behind Watkins Glen, probably my biggest, track to go to is Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's going to be freaking sweet with the truck. I did a couple laps there a couple weeks ago, and you're basically, you're off the throttle, then you're gassing at full speed to 2 and 4. I mean, it's just that's going to be sweet. I think there'll be a lot
tracks.
I think there'll be a lot of passing on the straightaways, similar to Pocono, except you're not really slowing down as much. So I think you'll see some draft in there.
You pretty much when you go to Indy too, you kind of it's if somebody's gonna be good is by how fast they are there. I mean, one of the things I love about Indy is I kind of figure out the line, and once you figure out the line and a certain way to run the track, you're really fast. And I've figured it out in most cars, and it's really interesting to be. I've usually been 2 tenths quicker than the field there, and I've always had a fast car there, just haven't got a win yet, which is kind of sad. But I definitely have marked Indy on my track just because it's kind of my redemption race. I almost had a win actually in 3 wide 2 weeks ago there, and ended up getting kind of crapshoot it because of people's pit strategies. But I'm looking at Indy as a track I want to win. Circled on the track, and I know we go to Milwaukee mile after that, which is probably one of my best tracks on the game. I've won 2 races there, and I've ran like out of 300 laps, I've probably led 250 of them. So it's one of the tracks I always have circled on there.
Yeah, so a lot of my experience on these tracks is from the official lobby, just because I haven't done a lot of league stuff. The Brickyard, my only experience was with, obviously I ran the Indy car there, but with the Xfinity car last year. And I felt real good there. And I've always seemed to get myself, like, if you're good at Pocono, you're good at the Brickyard. You're good at the Brickyard, you're good at Pocono, basically. Because it's this really big momentum tracks. Milwaukee's cool because it's an old school short track. Well, not really a short track, but it's an old school type of track. Um, that's a track where you can really, I think you'll see two lanes getting worked pretty well.
It's actually a
Um,
one-lane track, to say the
yeah, I know
least.
I know you do. It is one lane, but I think there's enough of a two lane on the bottom where if your truck's good enough and if you're good enough and you have some speed, you might be able to work it where you can, make it work. Um, then we go to Talladega, which is going to be a freaking crapshoot because you just don't know what everybody's going to be doing until the end of the race. And then my least favorite track of the schedule, we're going to Eldora.
You know, there's three
Um,
crapshoots in a row.
yeah, so Eldora, I'm not a dirt guy. I enjoy going to dirt races, but I don't necessarily like doing it on iRacing. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that's not one of your favorites, but
I
I
think I have
know
more practice than most.
I think there's a lot of guys looking forward to Eldora. I think we could see some surprises there. Might see some one-offs for the Eldora race. Um, that'll be interesting just because we're not going to be doing any kind of heats, but it'll be a 100 lap race there, which is, that is a pretty decent sized race. Watkins Glen, again, that'll be the last road course of the season. That's a track I'm really looking forward to, obviously, being a track that I've gone to forever. Um, and I felt real good there in the official lobbies a couple weeks ago. Um, I think that's another track where you're going to see a lot of different guys run up front. Um, I think it's funny how the way the schedule works out, where you really can't. If this was a 36 race season, you could say, okay, you know what, like, all right, I can kind of coast through the road courses. But when you only have 18 races, you can't really just say, well, I'm just going to take these road courses and just ride around because there's just going to leave way too many points on the board. Um, and then we go to Richmond. If you want to talk about Richmond, because I know that's one of your favorite tracks.
Yeah, Richmond's is probably one of my favorite tracks. Being a short track driver, it's just I like any short track that races. Thing about Richmond is sometimes it can be a little bit looser once the run goes on. So you get 20 to 40 laps on the tires. It usually keeps on getting a little bit looser each lap. So it's kind of cool thing about Richmond. Most tracks you usually get tighter when you wear off the tires. This is one of the tracks where you get looser as the run goes on. So really cool. It's gonna be really about who can keep the tires on because about after 2 to 3 laps, the tires are almost already shot, which is kind of interesting to say the least. So pitch strategy, I don't think you're gonna have much for there. It's gonna be 4 tires all day long. I don't. Anyway, that takes 2 tires is probably. I ain't gonna say it on there, but anyways, they're gonna be dumb. Do that anyways. So 120 laps there. It's gonna be interesting to see. This can definitely be a race that can go caution free, just because once the field spreads out, it's usually a pretty good race. It's kind of like it does in NASCAR. You don't see many cautions there at times, but we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, that's a track too where you could kind of, make it tough for a guy to pass you because you could get two lanes going.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's
race
definitely
14, race 14 is the Monster Mile Dover. Um, we had a pretty crazy finish again there last season. That was a track where I felt
uh,
personally like I was, very fast, top three. It was just you. So it was Joshua Adams. I think you were second. No, he was leading. You were in second. I was in third, and we were literally nose to tail. And I think it was the final lap or the white flag going to the. I'm not sure if it was the white flag lap
it was
or
white.
the
I'm pretty
with two
sure
to go.
it was white flag.
And you guys had contact, and I went on to win. That was my first truck win. Um,
I'm still
and that
upset
was
about
pretty
that
neat.
one.
Yeah, that was
Like, I'll
that
be
was a
honest, that is a track I was not expecting to do good at either. I'm not I haven't I've ran Dover, but I've never felt like I got the track or got the hang of the track until that race. Like that race set my bar so high for Dover that like I knew I was faster than Josh and I had the run and I had the outside, but he cut me off into my bumper. I wasn't very happy with it because of the way he was blocking the track and then decided to cut my nose off. That wrecked both our cars. But if he would have raced me clean, I definitely would have had that win there. And it really sucks to lose that way. So he's kind of cost me out of 2 wins here in the truck series. So hopefully we can at least get more this season because I'm not taking no
Well,
crap from him.
Josh Adams is firm running with us this season, so
He
you'll
is
have
or
your
isn't?
chance to. Oh, he is. So you'll have your
Okay.
chance to go nose to nose with him.
Yeah, he may get a bumper.
Um, Dover's a fun track though. But, it's one of those tracks where you can get into a rhythm and it's like, okay, this is kind of so easy because the high banks, the trucks kind of just suck the track. But then out of nowhere, the track will bite you, and you come up out of the corner and you just hit at the wrong angle. Charlotte, we just ran Vision race track. I never really turned a lap in. Ran the 3 wide race, but like I said, I was so raw iRacing league setting. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it's just I'm getting more comfortable with the truck, but that should be a decent race. A race that we're going to be announcing as a throwback. It's going to be a throwback race where all the drivers are going to have to run a throwback scheme. Darlington, we called it Throwback Southern Showdown laps. Never turned a lap on iRacing Darlington, so at some point, obviously, we'll have to practice here, but that's not going to be January. That we race there, but that'll be exciting.
Yeah, if you
That'll
need
be
paint
our
schemes
throw.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rowdy.
need paint schemes done. I'll charge $5 for a custom throwback scheme. Put your own
Yeah,
sponsors on
absolutely.
there, or anything
And
like
then that'll
that.
be so that'll be a throwback race. It'll be neat. And then Michigan, not a track I really enjoy with the truck. It's one of those tracks where the track's so big, and the trucks you just don't have enough juice at the end of the straightaway. So
Hey, that's
it's
gonna be.
really a you let off in one and you miss your mark, you're not going to really regain that momentum back to the stripe on the next lap. We just got done running there in Michigan on the official lobbies. We ran there last season.
That's gonna be a
It's a
different ballpark though, Chad.
yeah, it's a
So
track that.
I don't
Sorry.
know. I don't know if you know, but I mean, most people probably know. But Michigan's
Oh
getting
yeah, you know what? You're
repaved,
right. I
so
completely
this
forgot
is
about
kind of
that.
a wild
So
card.
we should have the repave by then.
Yeah.
So we don't really know actually. You're
Yeah.
right. So that could change it up.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I would like to see the high side more in place at Michigan. Like you see the Kyle Larson line and Dale Jr. when he used to run that high side. If it's actually gonna get worked in on the new pavement, so it's kind of gonna be interesting to see if it does get worked in. It's gonna be really interesting to see the multiple lines that you're gonna see ran there. So could be a very
Yeah,
interesting
I mean,
race.
if it's anything like the real life truck races, you'll see that it's gonna be hard for guys to get away. It's gonna be,
It's another
making
super
sure you're in the
speedway.
right spot. Yeah, basically. And then we end the season at Gateway Motorsports Park. I haven't been there yet, but based on
It's an interesting
watching
track.
races there, it's a cool track. It's kind of like a road course type track where both corners are different. Both corners you're gonna have to brake real hard on. Um, that'll be interesting to see how that works. Um, I'm not sure. Is that a track you might be able to downshift?
So I've ran it in nationals and I can downshift into one. I have not done a truck race to tell you if you can or not there. I just know you probably can. I'm assuming. Just by racing the nationwide or the national, and it's pretty similar, like horsepower wise, I'd say, to a truck. So yeah, it's a very interesting track. Both
And
corners are not the
Levi's
same.
mic's going in and out.
Is it really?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Oh, what? Copy.
Yep. Way
Okay.
better.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my mic tonight. Anyways, Gateway's just a really cool track because it kind of goes both opposite spectrums. So you have one that's like it's like a Darlington, to be honest. That's kind of how I'd equate it to. It's gonna be one of those type of tracks where you're gonna be really hard into the corner, and it's going to be interesting because both corners are not the same, and turn 3 is all about getting off of it and getting that run back on the straightaway because there's pretty decent straightaways on these on that track.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two really long straightaways. So it's hard to sit here and kind of talk about the drivers and see because we don't know exactly everyone that's going to show up. We have an idea, but there's a lot of new faces, a lot of teams. SWA is bringing their crew, so we're going to see a lot of their guys running. Formerly Perfectly Imperfect Simport. I think they just changed their name to what 715.
Yeah, 7 something.
Yeah, 715 Motorsports or something. I'm
Yeah.
not. They just changed it. I know they're bringing a good 5-6 drivers. And then obviously our team, Rebel Racing, basically all returning drivers. It's going to be one of those things. It's typical. You kind of have an idea. I think Joshua Adams is going to be tough to beat. Yourself is going to be tough to beat. I'd like to think I'm going to be tough to beat. I think I have a lot more experience now with the truck, and I really feel like I'm in a position now. And I think the fact that it's 18 races, no chase, no playoffs, I think kind of falls into what I would like. Because I can just top 5 to death if I can get to the end of the race.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
It's going to be interesting because, like I said, there's a lot of new drivers. Jesse Pierce ran in the Charlotte race. He's an SWA guy that hasn't really ran with us. My newest teammate, your buddy Rusty, he was pretty strong Charlotte. Joshua Furr is actually a guy who won on NASCAR Heat with us, and he's pretty new to iRacing, but he's made his name for himself on iRacing lately, so he should be a pretty competitive guy. I think he finished third. Yes, I think he finished third. So he'll be a guy that's you're gonna hear about. But it's gonna be an exciting season. I think we'll probably have a better idea of who's got what after a couple weeks. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting season. I'm looking forward to it. Join APS is on board for another season, so I appreciate everything they're doing for us. Working on a presented sponsor that we got somebody potentially coming on as a second league sponsor that will help out our broadcast. And then just remember, guys, all the races, it's $5 to sponsor a race. So you can get a logo made. We'll try to get you a logo made. If not, you can get the logo sent to us. $5 to sponsor a race, and all that goes to our broadcasts. I'm just looking forward to the season. I think it's going to be exciting. Any last remarks before we sign off tonight, Levi?
Yeah, I think this could be a season since it is, obviously you don't race to get into a chase or whatever. Consistency will be key. It'll be interesting to see if the person that takes home the championship at the end of the year has the least amount of wins, or is it gonna be somebody that has a lot of wins but didn't get a lot of consistency throughout the year? So it's kind of gonna be interesting to see is where that balance will be, or who will end up taking it home. Like, could you see somebody that just runs top 10 every week and with maybe 1 or 2 wins, or are you going to see the guy that wins 6 races be the champion? So it's kind of one of those things you don't know until the end of the year. It's gonna be
that'll be as your mic's kind of going in and out again. That's going to be interesting to see who's going to be able to go out on top with that. Then just a real quick news update: NASCAR Heat 3 comes out early September, so our leagues are currently going through our number draft for that. IndyCar is in action not this Friday, but next Friday. We start our month of May, our 4th edition of that. So we have the Indy GP, the 4th running of that. That's a race I won last season, which was awesome. One of my better sim racing wins that I've earned. And then it's the 4th running in the Elite Indy 500, which gets about 20 to 25 guys attempt to qualify. And then it's a 500-mile race, which is awesome. And then Formula C, we're gonna hopefully gets back in action here Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday. And then outside of that, I mean, it's just gonna be getting into the fall here, and then going from there. Potentially, maybe looking at an F1 2018 league, see what the interest is there from our drivers. But yeah, it's exciting. I think we're looking forward to it. Anything else, Levi, before we sign off?
I think that's good. I know starting in 2019 we're gonna do that. I think second series. We haven't decided whether it'd be Xfinity or the National. So if you guys have any comments or have any input on that, it'd be great to hear what you would prefer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to thank BTK, Halo Designs, our main logo designer, APS, joinaps.com, APS Advanced Payment Services, Shakely, creating healthier lives and wear athletic apparel. Then Pit Lane Parley. I actually finally met the guy that runs Pit Lane Parley, the podcast for IndyCar. Saw him at Pocono at the test last week for IndyCar. He's gonna probably come back on board in some form because he got some shout outs with us. And then at Mega Driver 86, sponsoring the Elite IndyCar Series. Other than that, looking forward to getting the season started. We'll see you guys at Daytona on Monday. It's going to be a wild 80 laps under the light, 200 miles. So
All right.
we'll see you guys later.
All right. See ya.